So today, here are a few of the key questions that Todd and I are going to address and answer. And there again, this is not going to be a highly technical, down into the weeds kind of stuff, but this should be the opportunity for you to think about your customer experience and how does your customer experience, what role does it play in how your organization wins and competes in the marketplace? Furthermore, regarding the customer experience, um, what organization design choices need to be looked at or need to be changed or need to be considered so that you can have that exceptional customer experience. And we'll even talk a little bit about what an exceptional customer experience means because industry by industry, market by market, those can have entirely different standards of excellence, if you will. And then we'll also talk a little bit about roadblocks that we see often that heed a organization from having excuse me, they see from having an organization from delivering on their customer experience. And so we'll talk a little bit about that. And then how do we understand what your customer really wants? How do we integrate that into the customer experience? And probably most importantly, how do we know we're winning? The changes that we're making, where we're really strong, maybe where we're not as strong. How do we know what that measure of success is? And what are some ways that we can look at to help evaluate that? So that being said, just to kind of set the conditions on what we're seeing, there's some recent results here that show of an average company that has a lot of customer interaction loses 10 to 15% of its customer base every single year. And of that 10%, typically only 4% of that feedback will actually make it back to the company on why they actually left, what their dissatisfaction was. The other 96%, they just leave and don't tell the organization necessarily why they left. And of those that leave, 91% of them don't come back. And so, that's a pretty strong impact there to the bottom line. And of those that leave, the primary reason why that can be summarized in a generic category is because of poor customer service or a bad customer experience. And so it certainly shows the impact of what a customer experience can have on an organization. And we will talk about this today, but there again, we want to help you decide, how should my customer experience look? Should it be differentiated? Should it be driven for operational efficiency? And how critical is this to our business? All right, what I'd like to do is I'm going to share with you a video. And on this video, this is one I took recently. My wife and I had the opportunity to fly to Cabo for a conference that we were invited to attend. And this caught me off guard just a little bit. I had been reading about some of the Delta customer service initiatives that they've been trying to implement, anywhere from hiring lots of customer service reps, relooking their customer experience, and so on. In full disclosure, this Delta is not one of our clients. This is not something we helped design. This is something that I was a recipient of. And so as we're sitting there, the pilot, the captain of the aircraft, before we're getting ready to take off, comes out and addresses the passengers, which is a little bit rare, especially in this fashion. And so I'm going to show the video. I apologize. The sound quality isn't the greatest. It's a little bit blurry, but there again, I wasn't prepared to see this. But as you watch this short 1-minute video, I'd like you to think about Delta as a whole. Is this massive organization? What organizing choices would they need to make for this kind of event to happen? Because also I'll tell you, when I flew back, and I've flown a couple times since then, this is actually becoming a very common touch point with the Delta pilots and their passengers, and how they brief and how they interact with their customers. So think about what organizing choices you would need to make for this to happen. How does this impact and enable Delta's overall strategy? And there's a lot of articles online that you can read about this. And then of all the customer touch points, and this isn't the only one that was quite unique that I thought, but think of all the different touch points that Delta has with its customers. Why did they choose this particular one and this particular style to make this kind of impact? And then what advantages and risks does Delta have by doing this? Certainly there's lots of captains out there, lots of different personalities and styles. How do they ensure that those that do this are the ones that will have ensure a positive impact to their customers? And how does this differentiate Delta from its competition? So I'm gonna play this video, and there again, apologize for the sound quality, but hopefully you'll get the point. There's a lot of comedy in there and so on. So let's take a look.
Sir, Tijuana.
Hey, let me make myself known. I'm here.
Anyway, welcome aboard, everyone. I'm Captain Brian Wortham. I've been with Delta since 1991. Our first officer's been with us for about 6.5 years, so it's my turn to fly though. So it's my landing. So if you don't like the landing, it is my fault.
You guys are awesome.
So don't blame her. Tim is our first officer. Anyway, this is our route of flight and the weather. There's really nothing between us and Cabo.
Hey.
So my wife and I have a timeshare down to Cabo. We love to go down there, and so you're going to one of my favorite places. I only get to be there for an hour and 15 minutes today, though. So I turn around and come back. But anyway, like I say, all these boxed areas are areas of known rough air. Okay, and that's all to the east of us. So not expecting too much issue in getting you down to Cabo today on time.
So you won't spill my drink.
I won't spill your drink.
There
You might, but I won't.
All right, so there again, this actually started before I filmed the video. It went on for about another minute or so afterwards. This particular captain was just very engaging. He went through all parts of the cabin and talked with the passengers, introduced himself. The other thing that I thought was noteworthy is this captain's been with them since 1991. Which I think is exceptional. So as we take a look at just this one little interaction, it was certainly enough to impress me and leave kind of a meaningful impact with my experience with Delta, that the pilot would do that he would, talk about the route, the beauty of the location and so forth. So if you take this one little touch point that I had with this particular airline, now we go back and say, from an organization design perspective, what are all the things that need to be considered in order to do this? And of course, this is not the only exceptional touch point. There are many others that this airline does fairly well at. And you can read about them in many of the articles. And so we captured a few of those key points here. People and rewards. It's pretty neat that, in order one thing to happen, to make this happen is the pilot has the technology and the hardware software to be able to do that. As he showed the map, had all the aviation route of flight, areas of rough air, that was all displayed, so that gave him something to talk around, and he wasn't left completely just to make something up. Look at the work processes that would need to take place. He's empowered with the tools. He's empowered to go out there and engage and solve problems. There's many articles that talk about pilots coming in and helping checking passengers in at the check-in counter. Some airlines even have their pilots moving luggage if that is what it takes. But how they solve that customer experience is a very important part of their business. Structure and governance, what and how are they authorized to engage with the customers? And lastly, the continuous improvement piece. Since 2019, this particular company has invested, they talked about hiring, I think, 500 employees in one location, additional employees, another 150 customer service oriented employees in another location, all for the sake of improving their touch points. In fact, there's one more quick story that is in a recent significant publication that a Delta plane went out onto the tarmac and was delayed for maintenance issues and had to return. And unfortunately, they were not able to use that aircraft because of some maintenance issues. And the writer of the story says, he was not a Delta medallion member or any of that kind of stuff, but the gentleman next to him was. He immediately calls the number and he was rebooked on a flight. And he wasn't surprised because the person next to him was, a diamond medallion or something like that, had what he called the special number that nobody else has, so that he could be given that treatment. And so since he didn't have the number, he contacted Delta customer service on Twitter. And he said within 4 minutes and 10 Twitter engagements, he was rebooked on a next flight. He deplaned, went to the adjacent airline and got a new plane and made it to his destination just an hour or so late, and all done through Twitter. So these are just organizing choices that this particular airline makes to help effectuate their strategy. But ultimately, exceptional customer service and customer experiences, these are the things that will lead to a sustainable competitive differentiation, a competitive advantage. But they don't just happen by chance. They need to be designed into your organization. All right, so now I'm going to turn over to my colleague, Todd, to take us through some more key insights.